Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Radha Madhava Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Radha Madhava Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivara Dhari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivara Dhari Yashodanandana Braja Janarandana Yashodanandana Braja Janarandana Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Radha Madhava Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Radha Madhava Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivara Dhari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivara Dhari Yashodanandana Braja Janarandana Yashodanandana Braja Janarandana Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Radha Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Radha Madhava Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Jaya Radha Madhava Radha Madhava Radhe Jaya Radha Madhava Radha Madhava Radhe Jaya Radha Madhava Radha Madhava Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Gaura Pimanande Dayam Vishupad Paramahamsa Tri Vrajgacharya Stotra Satya Sri Srimad His Divine Grace Srila Bhai Sharanarvinda Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Lanta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Skandabiti Founder Charyas Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada Ki Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Samavata Bhakta Vrinda Ki Hari Nama Sankirtan Ki Grantara Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jaini Thai Gaura Pimanande. All glories to be assembled devotees, all glories to be assembled devotees, all glories to be assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Guru and to Sri Gauranga, all glories to Sri Prabhupada. Om Agyanatimirandasya Gyananjana Salakaya Taksuranmritam Jena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Jena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Jita Padakamalam Sri Gurun Vaisnavam Syam Sri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Ragunatam Vitam Tvam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalitam Sri Visakan Vitam Syam Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopisha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpatarubhyasya kripa sindhubhya cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Narayanam namaskritya naram chaiva narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam
Devim Saraswatim Vyasam
Tato Jayamudirayet.
Tato Jayamudiraya.
Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is a very means of conquest, let us first offer respectful obeisances unto Narayana, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, unto Narayana Rishi, the supremmost human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and unto Srila Vyasadeva, the author. Nasta Prayesha Badrishu
Nashta Prayasha Bhadreshu
Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya
Nishtam Bhagavata Sevaya
Bhagavati Tamashloke
Bhagavati Tamasloke
Bhaktir Bhavati Naistiki.
Bhakti Bhavati Naistati.
By regularly hearing the Srimad Bhagavatam and by rendering a service unto the pure devotee, all that is troublesome within the heart becomes destroyed practically to nil, and loving devotional service unto the Supreme Lord, who is praised with transcendental songs, becomes established as an irrevocable fact. Idam Bhagavatam Nama
Idam Bhagavatam Namaha
Puranam Brahma Samhitam
Puranam Brahma Samhitam
Uttama Charitam
Uttama Shloke Charitam
Sakara Bhagavan Rishi
Sakara Bhagavan Rishi
Nisreya Sayalokasya
Nisheshaya Lokesam
Dhanyam Swasayanam Mahat.
Dhannam Sasayanam Mahat.
This Srimad Bhagavatam, known as the Grantaraj, the king of all Vedic literatures, is the literary incarnation of God. It is compiled by the incarnation of God, as Srila Vyasadeva. It is meant for the ultimate good of all people. It is all successful, all blissful, and all perfect. Sri Krishna Chaitanya
Sri Krishna Chaitanya
Prabhu Nityananda
Prabhu
Sri
Nityananda
Advaita Gadadhara
Sri Adaita Gadadhar
Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta
Sri
Vrinda.
Vasadi Gaur Bhaktavinda.
Hare Krishna Hare
Hare
Krishna
Krishna Hare Krishna
Krishna Krishna Hare Hare
Krishna Krishna Hare
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 Rama Hare
Hare
Rama
Rama Hare Rama
Rama Rama Hare
Rama
Hare.
Rama Hare Hare.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namah Bhagavate
Om
Vasudevaya.
Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namah Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Sarabhyai Namaha.
Om Suravhyaya Namaha.
Om Sarabhyai
Om
Namaha.
Suravhyaya Namaha.
Om Sarabhyai Namaha.
Om Suravhyaya Namaha.
Mukam karoti vasalam pangom langayate girim yatkripa tamaham bande Sri Gurum Dinataranam yatkripa tamaham bande Sri Gurum Dinataranam. Hare Krishna. Welcome to our Bhagavatam class. Continuing first canto, chapter 7. The son of Drona punished is the title of the chapter, and we are reading text 12. Yes, 12. Parikshito
Parikshito
Atha
Atha
Rajarsher
Rajarshe
Janma
Janma
Karma
Karma
Vilapanam
Vyapanam
Samstam
Samstam
Cha
Cha
Pandu
Pandu
Putranam
Putranam
Vakshe
Vakshe
Krishna
Krishna
Katodayam
Katodayam
Parikshito Tarajarsher
Parikshito Rajarshe
Janma Karma Vilapanam
Janma Karma Vilapanam
Samstam Cha Pandu Putranam
Samastam cha Pandu Putranam
Vakshye Krishna Kathodayam
Rakshe Krishna Kathodayam
Parikshito Tarajarsher
Parikshito Rajarshe
Janma Karma Vilapanam
Janma Karma Vilapanam
Samstam Sapandu Putranam
Samastam cha Pandu Putranam
Vakshye Krishna Kathodayam
Vakshe Krishna Kathodayam
Parikshito Tarajarsher
Parikshito Rajarshe
Janma Karma Vilapanam
Janma Karma Vilapanam
Samstam Sapandu Putranam
Samastam cha Pandu Putranam
Vakshye Krishna Kathodayam
Vakshe Krishna Kathodayam
Parikshito
Parikshito
Tarajarsher
Rajarshe
Karma Vilapanam
Janma
Janma
Karma
Karma Vilapanam
Vilapanam
Samstam cha Pandu Putranam
Samstam
Samstam cha
Sapandu
Pandu
Putranam
Putranam
Vakshe Krishna Katodayam
Bhakshya
Vakshe
Krishna
Krishna Kathodayam
Katodayam
Parikshito Rajarshe
Parikshito Tarajarsher
Janma Karma Vilapanam
Janma Karma Vilapanam
Samastam cha Pandu Putranam
Samstam Sapandu Putranam
Vakshe Krishna Kathodayam
Bhakshye Krishna Katodayam Parikshitaha
Parikshitaha
of King Parikshit
of King Parikshit
Atha
Atha
thus
thus
Rajarshehi
Rajarshe
of the king
of the king
who was the rishi
who was the rishi
among the kings.
among the kings
Janma
Janma
birth,
birth
karma
Karma
activities,
activities
vilapanam
Vilapanam
deliverance,
deliverance
samstam
Samstam
renunciation of the world,
renunciation of the world
sha
Sha
and
and
panduputranam
Panduputranam
of the sons of Pandu,
of the sons of the Pundu
Bhakshi,
Vakshe
I shall speak.
I shall speak
Krishna Katha Udayam,
Krishna Kathadayam
that which gives rise
that which gives rise
to the transcendental narration of Krishna,
to the transcendental narration of Krishna,
the Supreme Personality of Godhead.
the Supreme Personality of Godhead.
Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki.
Jai.
Sutta Goswami thus addressed the rishis headed by Shonaka. Now I shall begin the transcendental narration of the Lord Sri Krishna and topics of the birth, activities, and deliverance of King Parikshit, the sage among kings, as well as topics of the renunciation of the worldly order by the sons of Pandu. We are being challenged this morning. Yes, um, I didn't color. Kindly repeat after me. Uh, Sutta Goswami mm, Sutta Goswami thus addressed the rishis
Sutta Goswami thus addressed the rishis
headed by Shonaka.
headed by Shonaka.
Now I shall begin
Now I shall begin
the transcendental narration
the transcendental narration
of the Lord Sri Krishna
of the Lord Sri Krishna
and topics of the birth,
and topics of the birth,
activities,
activities,
and deliverance
and deliverance
of King Parikshit,
of King Parikshit,
the sage amongst kings,
the sage amongst kings,
as well as topics
as well as topics
of the renunciation
of the renunciation
of the worldly order
of the worldly order
by the sons of Pandu.
by the sons of Pandu.
Mm. Purport. Lord Krishna is so kind to the fallen souls that he personally incarnates himself amongst the different kinds of living entities mm, and takes part with them in daily activities. Mm. Any historical fact, old or new, which has a connection with the activities of the Lord, is to be understood as a transcendental narration of the Lord. Without Krishna, all these supplementary literatures like the Puranas and Mahabharata are simply stories or historical facts. But with Krishna, they become transcendental. And when we hear of them, we at once become transcendentally related with the Lord. Srimad Bhagavatam is also a Purana, but the special significance of this Purana is that the activities of the Lord are central and not just supplementary historical facts. Srimad Bhagavatam is thus recommended by Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as the spotless Purana. This is, there is, rather, there is a class of less intelligent devotees of the Bhagavat Purana who desire to relish at once the activities of the Lord narrated in the 10th canto without first understanding the primary cantos. They are under the false impression that the other cantos are not concerned with Krishna, and thus, more foolishly than intelligently, they take to the reading of the 10th canto. These readers are specifically told herein that the other cantos of the Bhagavatam are as important as the 10th canto. No one should try to go into the matters of the 10th canto without having thoroughly understood the purport of the other 9 cantos. Krishna and his pure devotees, like the Pandavas, are on the same plane. Krishna is not without his devotees of all the rasas, and the pure devotees, like the Pandavas, are not without Krishna. The devotees and the Lord are interlinked and they cannot be separated. Therefore, talks about them are all Krishna Katha or topics of the Lord. I think we need to relocate. We can go inside. We can bring the mats. Yes. The class will continue in 60 seconds. Yeah. Somebody, Krishna. Okay. Yes. Well, I think it might be better in the back, no? Let me see. Because we cannot block. They have to. On that side? No. I will sit here. Yeah. Yes. 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 During Kartik last year, we had our class here. One mat maybe here also.
Yes.
We have. Ah, yes. Welcome to our new classroom. Nice. Yes. So we just finished reading the purport. I will again read the translation. It's okay. I mean, thus, or not thus, Sutta Goswami thus, okay, addressed the rishis headed by Shonaka Rishi. Mm. Now I shall begin the transcendental narration of the Lord, Sri Krishna, and topics of the birth, activities, and deliverance of King Parikshit, the sage among kings, as well as topics of the renunciation of the worldly order by the sons of Pandu. Mm. So who is speaking here? Sutta Goswami. uh, yes. In reply to Shonaka Rishi. Right? Shonaka Rishi was asking about Shukadeva Goswami, how he had become attracted since he was already self-realized. So Sutta Goswami will now begin not just the narration, but the transcendental narration. So this is the main point which is being made here. All narration that has anything to do with Krishna is a transcendental narration. In one lecture, Srila Prabhupada explains that sometimes people they will question, what do we have to do with the battle of Kurukshetra? Why we should? Actually, he speaks about Bhagavad Gita. Bhagavad Gita, what what is so important? Because spoken on the battlefield. So, if Krishna was not on the battlefield, it would not be of interest to us. But because Krishna is on the battlefield, therefore, that seemingly ordinary or material activity, a battle, war, fighting, takes on a transcendental meaning, and not just an ordinary meaning. Prabhupada explains that the activities of Krishna and the gopis in Vrindavan and the activities of Krishna on the battle of Kurukshetra is as important. In the purport, Prabhupada refers to Krishna's activities are all in connection with different types of rasa. Rasa is, of course, the essence, or we could call it the juice, the juice of life. We cannot live without rasa. The karmis cannot live without rasa, and the devotees cannot live without rasa. Because rasa is what actually gives life, what gives impetus, what gives inspiration. And therefore, those who are devoid of spiritual rasa, they are obliged by nature to taste material rasa. We cannot live without rasa, just like we cannot live without love. People in the material world sometimes will leave a note that no one loves me, and they will commit suicide, isn't it? Or people who are in some kind of relationship, when that relationship comes to an end for some reason, then they become distressed to the point of sometimes also committing suicide. So, all the different literatures that are connected, especially with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, because he is he is known as Rasaraj. He is the king, excuse me, the king of all rasa. He is Rasa Samudra. He is the ocean of rasa. He is in the spiritual world. That is what is constantly being experienced. And those in the material world who are in the spiritual world, those who are on that purified transcendental platform, they are constantly tasting, experiencing, relishing transcendental rasa, which is this transcendental rasa. This is major point being explained in the pages of the Bhagavatam, is only possible in relation to Krishna. That's why Krishna's lila, when he descends in his original transcendental form, is the most attractive of all the leelas. Advaitam Achyutam Anadim Anantarupam. Anantarupam, the Lord has unlimited forms, and through all the unlimited forms, he performs unlimited pastimes. But of all of these pastimes, his pastimes in the Vrindavan are the most attractive. Even when Krishna goes to Dwarka, he goes to Dwarka, but his mind is in Vrindavan. So the Puranas are all giving us different stories. And of all the Puranas, as outlined here by Srila Prabhupada, the Bhagavat Purana, or the Srimad Bhagavatam, this particular Purana is described as the Amala Puranam, the spotless Purana. So therefore, we see in the pages of the Bhagavatam, in the discussion between Parikshit Maharaj and Shukadev Goswami, Parikshit Maharaj, he asked many questions. He was very inquisitive. And he was not only inquisitive about transcendental subject matters, he was also inquisitive. There's a very nice purport somewhere here in the first canto where Parikshit Maharaj is asking, because it's like two people when they talk, then sometimes some question comes up and will be presented to the other person. So at some point, Parikshit Maharaj, he's asking Shukadev Goswami, can you explain about this this cosmic manifestation, how it is functioning? And in that purport, Srila Prabhupada explains, just see, Parikshit Maharaj, he knows he's going to leave his body in a few days. Why is he asking about seemingly material? We normally think as devotees, we should only speak about, we call it Krishna Lila and Vrindavan, and of course, Prabhupada makes that point here also. We cannot properly understand or relish those pastimes without first going through so many different topics, all of which are in relation to Krishna. Because how Krishna creates this cosmic manifestation, how Krishna arranges, for example, this is very interesting how we talked about this before also, how the way we are meant to live materially, the ideal way which the majority of people are meant to be engaged. We see this actually in the later chapter or later canto, seventh canto of the Bhagavatam, where Narada Muni speaks about dharma, the duties and responsibilities of mankind, connecting again with something that we as devotees generally are not sufficiently able to relate to, and that is the what is meant to be the natural arrangement for the vast majority of people to live. Means connected. We were talking about this in Vrindavan actually. means village life, agrarian life, because that's what Krishna demonstrated when Krishna performs his personal, most favorite and eternal pastimes that are going on in the spiritual world. Those pastimes are in connection with the cows, are in connection with the land, isn't it? It's just like traditionally in a village, mm, there is a there's a very close knit, very close family atmosphere. Everyone knows one another. You cannot hide anything, not only in your village but in the next village. Because everyone is living very close, and everyone is in the traditional Vedic village. That's also the we could say Vedic arrangement. Most important activity in a village is the temple. So the center of the village is physically a temple. That means that the center activities in a village is meant to be connected with Krishna, with spiritual activities, even though the majority of people are engaged in so-called material activities. Just like in Jagannath Puri, the surrounding villages around Jagannath Puri, different people in different villages are engaged in making all kinds of preparations in connection with Lord Jagannath. So they work uh, in seemingly material activities, but in relation to Lord Jagannath. So that's why uh, Krishna has made this plan or this arrangement that we are meant to be engaged or connected with uh, activities in relation to nature uh, that are more simple and that are meant to be somehow connected with uh, with the service of Krishna. So that even so-called material activities for a devotee are actually not material activities. And when we develop this kind of um, understanding or consciousness, then we are we are able to begin tasting or relishing transcendental happiness. So this verse is um, stating how uh, uh, Shukadeva Goswami will, or Sutta Goswami rather, Sutta Goswami will begin his narration. He will begin what he will begin to explain what he himself heard when he was also on the banks of the Ganga, when Shukadeva Goswami had narrated the Srimad Bhagavatam to Parikshit Maharaj. So he, from memory, he will again repeat, isn't it, the Srimad Bhagavatam? And he will begin with the story of Parikshit Maharaj, and well, we will see as the chapter unfolds here, but the son of Drona, who is that? Aswatthama. Aswatthama is he's the one who tried to finish the the Pandu dynasty by sending this Brahmastra weapon to kill, isn't it? The child within the womb of um, Parikshit mother's name? Uttara. Yeah, Uttara. Yes. So, so it means that all of these different topics have have their importance. Just like Mahabharata is full of so many um, intrigues and so many stories and so many anecdotes, but it is of interest to us because it's all in connection with Krishna. So that means that whatever we are doing should somehow or other be in relation to Krishna, even though it is so-called material. So he will begin discussions about uh, Parikshit Maharaj, how he took birth, um, his different activities, um, and ultimately how he attained perfection. Uh, we know, of course, he attained perfection simply by giving oral reception to the Srimad Bhagavatam. Yeah, so this is just like in the Bhagavad Gita. The first chapter is setting the scene, preparing, giving like the background information, and then it is in the second chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna begins to speak, um, begins to instruct Arjuna. Uh, so, in a kind of a similar way, for example, the next verse is giving some background information to prepare us to understand um, to understand ultimately how in what circumstances how the Srimad Bhagavatam was given to the world. The Srimad Bhagavatam was first given or spoken by Shukadeva Goswami to this very saintly and exalted personality, Parikshit Maharaj. And one point which is maybe we don't think about so much, but Parikshit Maharaj was a Rajarshi. Parikshit Maharaj was a king. Uh, this is like a very significant point because Bhagavad Gita was also spoken to a king. or someone of the royal order, Arjuna. And that naturally that verse, Evam parampara praptam imam rajarshayo vidu, Rajarshi, Rajarishi, Raja and Rishi. So it means that actually um, a total contrast to what we have today in modern day society. We don't have Rajarshis. But it means that this knowledge is meant to be given to those who are leaders in society, to those who are responsible to properly protect and direct society. Of course, ultimately it is the Brahmanas, but the Rajarshi, the kings or saintly kings, they are meant to receive and to put into practice this knowledge of the Srimad Bhagavatam. So in many ways, that is one of the very important duties and responsibilities of the Brahmanas, isn't it? That's why Srila Prabhupada very much wanted not only simply to train up Brahmanas for the sake of having Brahmanas, but one of the primary purposes of having Brahmanas, of training Brahmanas, is that they can teach leaders in society. Those who are meant to act as traditionally in the Vedic culture, Rajas are acting. So that's another, we could say, major challenge that we have. What is that major challenge? Today we don't have monarchy. We have, what do we have?
So-called democracy.
Yes.
It's a secret monarchy.
What did Prabhupada said a number of things about democracy. Because sometimes some devotees will argue, well, there's democracy also in the Vedic culture. Is that true? Is there democracy in the Vedic culture? No? Prabhupada says yes.
It depends which Vedic scriptures you get as a basis, because only the Vaishnava scriptures speaks about the democracy. Other Vedic scriptures speaks not.
What is Vedic democracy? Prabhupada defines democracy as democracy is possible only when you have people, like when Brahmanas together discuss some topic, because they are Brahmanas, qualified Brahmanas. So qualified Brahmanas, just like this happened in the case of King Vena. King Vena was not qualified to be a king, and after causing so much of disturbance, then the Brahmanas came together, they had a meeting, and they passed a resolution. King Vena has to go. That's too much. He's caused too much of havoc. Yeah. So democracy is only possible when people are qualified. The Brahmanas are qualified. But so-called modern democracy is not following that principle, because majority of people are not qualified to decide. uh, on who should be the leader in society. Because from Vedic perspective, Vedic point of view, unless one knows about dharma, he cannot properly understand what is right and what is wrong. Pravritim cha nivritim cha jana navidur asura. Haribol. Shanti. Om Shanti. Yeah. So that's why when in any society or in any meeting, in any community, if members of that society or members of that community are not understanding about dharma, then that's why generally, at least in the Vedic culture, the brahmanas are the ones who specialize, who are meant to specialize about dharma. So they are the ones actually king, just like Parishit Maharaj. He is a prime example. Although he's saintly king, he was asking other sages what I should do. I have been cursed to die within 7 days. What is the best thing I should do to prepare myself to leave the body? That's how the whole Bhagavatam was narrated. So that's it means that our responsibility as devotees, our responsibility as a society, Krishna conscious society, is not only to create brahmanas, not only to speak about Krishna Lila, Rasa Lila, but also the responsibility, most important responsibility, especially now in our modern times, where we don't have qualified leaders as per Vedic standard. Qualified leader, according to Vedic standard, is that he must know about dharma. He must pass legislation based on dharma. That is not happening. Now they're passing resolutions allowing abortion, allowing all kinds of activities which are against dharma. So, so how brahmanas will be able to give direction to kshatriyas if they don't know the rules and principles of kshatriyahood, isn't it? For that matter, also how brahmanas will give direction to farmers, vaishyas. If brahmanas don't know this very, very deep and profound science of Krishi Goraksha, that is why Prabhupada wanted that we have Varnashram college, because that's where this knowledge, that's where these sciences, Vedic sciences, Vedic science of agriculture, Vedic science of governance will be taught. So it is not only Brahmana's business to speak about what we generally refer to as Krishna Katha. That is also Krishna Katha, the science of Krishi Goraksha, which Krishna and Balaram demonstrated practically every single day, isn't it? So, so in the same way that this point is being brought out here, that we should not simply be interested in one portion of the Bhagavatam, as some people are, uh, means the 10th canto of the Bhagavatam, Krishna's pastimes, Krishna's most confidential pastimes in Vrindavan, with the gopis of Vrindavan. We should be understanding the importance and the connection of all of these different topics. And it's only when we make that connection with Krishna, whether it is medicine, for example, Ayurveda. Ayurveda is in connection with Krishna. It's a medical, it is a material science, the science of how to maintain and keep healthy body, healthy mind, because body is material, mind is also material. So there's a system to keep body healthy by proper food, by knowing what time to take food, by knowing what time to take rest. So many subject matters in relation to health. Why health is important? So that we can better engage in Krishna service ultimately, isn't it? Why we study astrology? Astrology so that we know when is, what is it, Rahu Kala, for example. Rahu Kala, those who perform Jagya, they should know when is Rahu Kala, when it is inauspicious time, auspicious time to perform activities. All of these aspects are part of our Vedic culture as well. I will read one time again our text, if there's any question or comment. So, Sutta Goswami thus addressed the rishis headed by Shronaka. Now I shall begin the transcendental narration of the Lord Sri Krishna and topics of the birth, activities, and deliverance of King Parikshit, the sage amongst kings, Raja Rishi, as well as topics of the renunciation of the worldly order by the sons of Pandu. By the sons of Pandu. So that's in relation to what? The renunciation of the worldly order by the sons of Pandu. When the sons of Pandu, the Pandavas, got message or news, this was many years after the Battle of Kurukshetra. So in other words, Sutta Goswami will narrate the pastimes when Parikshit Maharaj was born soon after the Battle of Kurukshetra, and he will also narrate the renunciation of the Pandavas 30 years after the Battle of Kurukshetra. Right? Battle of Kurukshetra established Yudhishthira Maharaj as the king, and Krishna continued his pastimes, mostly in Dwarka, after the Battle of Kurukshetra, for how many years? How old was Krishna during the Battle of Kurukshetra? Huh?
27.
Huh? 27?
127.
No. How old was Krishna at the time of Battle of Kurukshetra? What? 127. Where do you get this number, 127? How long, how old is Krishna when he finishes his pastime? Huh?
125.
125. Yes. How old was Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu when he finished his pastimes?
48.
48. Yeah. So, and how old was Krishna when the battle of Kurukshetra took place?
100.
No,
98.
95. Krishna was 95. Doesn't look at all like 95. It says that Krishna did not have even one gray hair, all black at 90.
Here.
Yeah.
Run wild.
Right. Srivatsa. So that means, what does that mean? So between 95 and 125, that means 30 years. That means that Parikshit Maharaj was was installed as king when the Pandavas retired from, when Krishna finished his pastimes 30 years after the battle of Kurukshetra. So that means that the Pandavas, this is what is referring here, the sons of Pandu retired from worldly life. They left their kingdom. And that's when Yudhishthira Maharaj enthroned Parikshit as the next emperor of the world. And so that means that Parikshit Maharaj was enthroned at the age of 30. And then I don't know how many years before this curse of the young Brahmana boy. So these are topics that Shukadeva Goswami will be narrating briefly and maybe more elaborately in the upcoming descriptions. Yeah. Any thoughts? Yes.
Pandavas leave kingdom.
Pandavas?
Leave to kingdom.
Left.
Yeah, leave kingdom, yes.
So nowadays Vanaprasthas staying home, or property also is name. Some devotees also staying in Dham.
Mm.
So this after Vanaprasthas we are going or leave the property all and simply depend of Krishna.
So the question is, those who are taking Vanaprastha, if they stay in the holy dham, what they should do with all their property. Is it? Prabhupada makes a comment regarding this in one lecture. He's telling that, yes, we have people who come to Vrindavan, they have already worked and so they have some Lakshmi, and they tell their children, their grown-up children who are married now, that you send me every month that was 50 years ago, 300 rupees. At that time you could live with 300 rupees in Vrindavan, and the rest you keep. So, and Prabhupada was telling, of course, this is not means you send for me so that I can be living nicely in Vrindavan, and the rest of my money, Krishna, I'm not giving to him. So the proper way actually is that when one takes Vanaprastha, and Vanaprastha means actually to surrender, to again develop the mood of full surrender. Because usually in family life we have so many duties and preoccupations, uh, generally very difficult to give full time and full energy to developing Krishna consciousness. So therefore, after the worldly, family, and social responsibilities are over, then we give up family life. We go to some holy place, and we fully absorb ourselves. So, whatever wealth one may have, ultimately, all wealth is meant to be utilized in Krishna's service. So there is injunction in the Shastra that Prabhupada explains also how those who are householders, they should give 50% of their income for helping to spread Krishna consciousness. Most people are not even giving 1% of their income, isn't it? So, so that means that proper understanding, especially for those who take vanaprastha, is that whatever wealth they may have, then uh, instead of just keeping it for some kind of material type of activities, then that should be utilized in Krishna service for spreading Krishna consciousness. Uh, so that is meant to be decided by those who are uh, in that position. So vanaprastha means surrendering to Krishna. So surrendering to Krishna means surrendering um, not only oneself going to a holy dham, but also whatever uh, possessions I have been able to accumulate um, due to Krishna's mercy. So uh, if the children are already grown up and able to look after themselves, then uh, it is the proper way to actually surrender not only ourselves but whatever might have been accumulated for Krishna's service. Yeah. Yes.
Um, I have a few topics, but
Yeah.
that I would say that about the Varnashram topic,
Yeah.
that when we consider that how important to learn living in country, that's very correct.
How oh
That's
in country
that's correct. Yeah, living in country, living
simple. Yeah.
on the Goraksha principle.
Right.
But then, if we see the other part, where this all this wealth which is accumulated by proper living in village, uh, how it is utilized. If it stay in the village, that will disturb the system of Varnashram. They give a lot of accumulated wealth to the Kshatriya, and the Kshatriya lives in a city or city type of environment, means much less cow and much more uh, different activities which are meant for making beauty, creating beauty for the village life also, because how Nanda Maharaj could build a beautiful palace and live in a exclusive, nice situation if someone not creating that beauty,
Mhm.
sculptures, marbles, it's not possible to get in the village life. So it's like a cooperation between the village life and the city life, where all these manual workers can create mines workers and transporters can create a beauty for the society. So I think that's also minimum 50% we have to consider how to establish Varnashram society in village, not just the village life, but in a city life, like in Dwarka.
Mm-hmm.
Dwarka also a Varnashram system based place, but they're much more, they're different. Well, so that we have to also consider how to establish Varnashram in city type of life, because then we balance the energy flow all around.
Yes, yes. Mm. When we speak of our narsam, naturally we give generally emphasis or importance to country or to rural life. At the same time, the point you're making is very valid, that it is not that the cities are not there, but generally in the Vedic culture, cities are meant for administration, which means for the Kshatriyas. And of course, Kshatriyas surround themselves also by Brahmanas. Brahmanas will be there. Um, some Vaishyas, because Vaishyas not only they look after Krishi Guraksha, but also Vanijam, trade. So in there will be trade also in cities. Yes. And Shudras are everywhere, of course. They're both in villages. They're helping Brahmanas, Kshatriya, and Vaishyas through so many different kind of activities, most of which are, as you mentioned, manual in nature. So yeah, there's meant to be a proper, uh, what's the word, a balance and also mutual support of the village lifestyle and the city lifestyle, which has a different uh, purpose, but is generally, uh, of course, completely different to a large extent, very, very different from what we find in our modern cities. Um, and therefore, um, that's also an important uh, aspect that brahmanas are meant to also introduce. Brahmanas are not only meant to introduce and cultivate knowledge about village life, but they're also meant to study what is meant to be an ideal city, how, as we see described in the Shastra, the descriptions of Dwarkapuri, uh, and the descriptions of um, Indraprastha, the description of Hastinapur, Delhi, what we know today as Delhi. So they were very, very opulent, and but they had a particular purpose, and it was only for a very, very small percentage of the population. But both, yeah, both are meant to follow and to be in line with the Vedic principles and the Vedic concepts that are described uh, within the system of Varnashrama as well. Yeah. So cities primarily, they are like cities in the olden days were like the forts. You know, kings would live in the forts, uh, and in times of and the rest of the population, majority, they would be living in the villages, and they had big forts. And then in times of war, sometimes people, village people, they would come and take shelter in the fort, isn't it? Um, so um, that that whole culture is practically lost in modern day society, and that is why we need to uh, train individuals, especially, well, ultimately, all the members of the society. We need to train and educate those who will serve as brahmanas, those who will serve as kshatriyas, those who will serve as vaishyas, and those who will serve as shudras. And because this whole system, unfortunately, has been very much abused, and now so many people are falsely concluding that the system is not a good system. Actually, the system is the best system when it is properly understood and properly followed and applied. And this is what this is the big challenge that we have actually as devotees. But if we don't take that up and simply remain enclosed, like a horse will have like this, so that he doesn't see on both sides. That has its advantage sometimes, but actually, for the work that we are intended to take up as devotees, as Vaishnavas, and for the whole of society, we need to, as Prabhupada instructed, we need to include that as well. I mean, this opens up the whole varnashrama aspect. We may not be able to duplicate exactly as we read from the pages of the Srimad Bhagavatam, but we cannot do away with the basics that are described, and that naturally requires some qualified devotees, and some time factor is also necessary as well. And and therefore, as Prabhupada very often reminded us, therefore, our movement is not simply, we say, a spiritual movement. Our movement is an educational movement, where education, learning, knowledge, cultivation of knowledge is very central. Our movement is also a cultural movement. Culture. What is that culture? That culture is primarily Vedic culture. That when we speak of culture, we speak of lifestyle. So that lifestyle is agrarian lifestyle. And if we don't get that, if we don't understand that, we will not be successful in actually establishing the mission that Prabhupada has given us, or nor the mission that Lord Chaitanya and Lord Krishna have given us. So Krishna consciousness is meant to be an educational as well as cultural movement, and also a social movement. We are meant to bring about social change. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is described as the great social reformer, isn't it? Yeah. So I think we have to close now. Jai Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki, Jai Sri Prabhupada ki, Hare Krishna.
Swami Maharaj ki jai.
I think that the principle of yoga